Hey folks, it's Rebel Rousing Rich Bergeron.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Tornado 20 Pentacal.
And Psychic Tom Paget with a brand new deck of tarot cards. Ready to...
Tom, how come you didn't tell us?
Be happening.
How come you didn't tell us last week that the Steelers were going to lose? You should have had that information.
Football ain't my forte, bud. Football, remember where I'm from.
Oh,
one of the few NFL cities, never been to a Super Bowl, never will. So I had to give that up a long time ago.
Tom, never say never, because, you know, how many years did we say my team would never win one, and we actually did. I mean, we've turned into a shit show ever since. I will give you that.
Well, this town, yeah, there was even an ESPN special on the Belief Land about the curse.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so it's
Anyway, we have a ton of actual combat sports news to cover. Didn't go well for me on the FanDuel site there. With football or UFC last week. I thought Hermanson, in his experience, was going to carry the day, but young Marvin Vettori there showed his mettle and got a unanimous decision win there at UFC on ESPN 19. Also, we had another young phenom who was undefeated coming in against Owen St. Pro, kept his record intact with a TKO. Second round, 3 minutes and 37 seconds into that one. And then Gabriel Benitez was one of the other ones you had to have on the MVP slot. He also got a first round knockout. TKO knee to the body and elbows from Justin James. And Roman Dolidze also on the card, beating John Allen by split decision. And this is an interesting one. I didn't get to actually watch all these fights, but Jordan Levitt got his win over Matt Wyman by a knockout from a slam, just 22 seconds into the fight. Did you see this one, Tom?
Yeah, that was hideous. Just hideous. And Wyman had been out for a long time, and then in his comeback, this was his third loss, and it's over for him, and he knows it.
Yeah.
He's retired, and and good for him. He had a good career, but you don't want to stay around in this business too long.
Right. So Jordan Levitt was another one you kind of had to have on your card to win the money. Louis Smolka in his postponed fight against Jose Alberto Quinones came out victorious there with the TKO punches in the second round, 2 minutes and 15 seconds in. And then we had the second fight of the night, Ilya Topuria beating Damon Jackson by knockout. That was 2 minutes and 38 seconds into the fight. Also from just punches there. And then one I did get right, Jake Collier over Gian Vellante in the first fight of the night. It was a unanimous decision win there for Jake. And that's about it there. We also have a big UFC card this weekend. But we have big Floyd Mayweather news we need to report first.
Oh, dear Lord. Do we need to do this? Do we really need to do this? Oh.
No. But Logan Paul, I don't know why he would pick him over Jake Paul, because Jake Paul just had the win. You know, you're going to pick a guy that has a loss. Was it one loss? Or one draw? I don't know. Did they draw or lose that fight? It was Logan Paul and KSI that launched this whole stupid YouTube boxing thing. I think he lost, but he's so confident.
I think you're right, Rich. I think he lost, but I can't say that I watched them.
Yeah. But it became a big thing because they sold a lot of tickets. They showed that their influencing status online was enough to bring people into the stands.
What happened?
Now you've got a digital world that's even better for them. You know, they have all the people that are already connected to these video sites and know how to stream shit. So it's interesting for that factor only. Floyd is going to wipe the mat with him. There's no question about it. But, yeah, it's crazy.
And you wonder how much they're going to charge to watch that. It's just, I always want to be that old man on the mountain that's seen everything and is not surprised, but I'll never get there. Every day it seems like it's like I can't believe I'm hearing what I'm hearing. Now, and imagine this: 0-1, and it was not even was it a professional fight? Did this guy even have an
Actually, it
amateur
was.
career?
Actually, it was. I remember they did license them. They made it a professional
What was his
fight.
amateur record? Does anyone know, or
Nothing.
does he have one?
He didn't have one.
Nothing. Okay, so he.
It was because there was so much money behind the fight.
Well, why not charge $300 for it? I mean, why not?
That was in the UK, though. I don't think they'll be doing this one in the UK.
Unbelievable.
But yeah,
You said it best, Tom. It's like, nothing should surprise you anymore.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm still not there yet. I'm working on it.
Me neither.
All right. I don't know what we got up coming for this weekend. Let me check the big news this week that we definitely need to talk about in the UFC circles. The class action lawsuit is going forward. They have been designated as a class, about 1,200 fighters, and it's estimated that if it's a loss at trial, could cost the UFC $5 billion. $5 billion. And they now keep in mind the people that own it now, this whole conglomerate group of investors now, bought it for $4 billion. So now they're going to have to pay more than what it was even worth when they bought it, at an inflated price probably, to settle this thing. So, well, they'll probably pay less to settle it, but so if they lose it, that's how much they're going to lose. But it's definitely been something that's taking a long time for the people pressing it, and I don't know where they're coming up with the money to do it. But I know for a fact that there's a guy behind it named Rob Mazy, who has been with it since day one, and he's probably the only one that I've ever seen organize a large group of fighters to attempt to do kind of an organization, not really a union like other people tried to create. But he created like the Mixed Martial Artists Fighters Association or something like that, and had it going for a while. I don't know if it's still going, but had a lot of fighters interested, and then it spun into this lawsuit. And then there was a couple sports guys, some agents from sports that set up an office and claimed they were going to get into it, and tried to pretend they were going to do a union, and they got like 3 fighters involved. It was ridiculous. And they actually said that their plan was going to be to file a lawsuit, which Rob Mazy had already had underway at that point with 5 or 6 other firms. So he's one of the heroes of this thing. That's probably not talked about a lot, but I talked to him a couple times, but he didn't really pick my brain on what I know about the Fertittas, and now it's beyond the Fertittas anyway. But a lot of this setting of the tone happened while they were running the UFC, so they're the ones that got Dana White involved and started organizing these contracts to really screw the fighters over. So I'm excited to see how this turns out, and already I believe it's starting to hit the UFC, because Dana White just came out the other day and said that they're cutting 60 guys, 60 fighters, I shouldn't say guys, because one of them was Rachel Ostrovich the other day. She lost her last fight. They cut her. And then another one was Yoel Romero. So they're, whittling down the roster here. And it's, unfortunately, it's kind of creating the situation that they're getting sued for in more concentrated format, because now you're really having to put on a show to keep your job, because there's not many jobs left. I mean, if they're cutting the roster that much, 60 people, I haven't heard of that kind of a cut in a long, long time. Maybe not. Maybe this is the biggest one they've done. I don't know. But very interesting stuff. We'll have to keep an eye on it. And if they lose this, it's going to be even bigger. There's a crazy story. Wanted to file it in the wild story of the week section of our broadcast here. Woman named Vivian Obanoff. I don't know if you've heard about this guy. It's a Swedish professional boxer suspected of beating her husband to death.
Nice.
So,
We needed it.
yeah. That's what you get when you marry a boxer, I guess. Prime suspect in the bludgeoning murder of her husband, whose body was found inside their apartment in Switzerland. She's actually born in Brazil. Vivian Obanoff, 34 years old. Actually had to use a blunt object, though, so I don't know what that's all about. Arrested last week after the victim, identified only as 61-year-old Thomas, was found dead of massive injuries sustained during a violent assault. She fought for 3 world title bouts in her career, held a 14-6 record, and 2 World Boxing Federation international titles before she retired last year. Got married on January 25th and opened a gym in the Swiss town of Interlaken, where she lived with her husband, the owner of a restaurant there. So, yeah, that's a crazy one. Only was arrested once before, according to records, for allegedly punching a man who tried to grope her as she celebrated her 30th birthday in London in 2016. She only spent a few hours in jail for that one. Well, odd story of the week there. Now, we got boxing coming up, and we also had some fights last week. The big one.
Go to Fiverr.com and find one in seconds. Or don't go to Fiverr. Waste your time searching for freelancers.
Advertising for Fiverr there by accident. Anyway, boxing last week, we all thought Danny Garcia was going to carry the day, but it turned out Errol Spence really wasn't all that banged up after all. Still had the skill to cruise to I believe it was a unanimous decision, right?
It was a unanimous decision. I didn't get to see it. I was working that day, and then I had to do a quick pit stop at a social distance party. It was jolly old St. Nick.
Yeah, the story of the fight was Spence's jab. He just swarmed Danny. And remember what all 3 of us said. Danny must start quick.
Yeah.
And, I had it 118 to 110. And one judge had it 117, 111, and then 2 were being generous, I thought. Had it 116 to 112, but they got the right guy. And it was painful to watch this. Because Rich, did you see it?
No, I didn't get to see it. I read about it.
Well, it was painful when Angel was just pleading, Danny, you're giving him too much respect. Well, sometimes you need a pep talk, but sometimes you need specifics. And I don't know what Danny could have done different. That jab was in his face, and Spence was just moving in, and Danny couldn't counter. He just seemed like his feet were in cement. I mean, and it was painful. It was painful to watch because all the courage in the world, but he was just so outclassed. And at age 32, I have a cliche. At some point in a fighter's career, he pretty much is what he is.
Yeah.
So, right. And I would say on the topic of gatekeepers, that's a disparaging topic, but I think there's top-notch gatekeepers. And I think Danny will be a top 5 gatekeeper. You want to get a shot at the title, you have to get through him, but I don't see him getting another chance unless a lot of stuff changes. But, yeah, it was a sad night for him. And good for Spence.
Yeah, great for Spence. Comeback story of the year, I guess. If it wasn't for such a bad reason that he came back. Ruining his Ferrari there in a drunken incident. But lucky to be alive. And talk about a survivor. There you go. Perfect example of a guy who can turn a situation like that around and return to doing what he loves. So.
Well, yeah, he made a mistake, but he'll get a second chance. And the article I sent you guys, it's like, why aren't him and Crawford calling each other out? And,
yeah, you want to see the best fight the best. It's something that's always been kind of interesting to me. The whole Leonard Hagler thing that wrapped into that article that you sent too was, for me, I had read that whole story about how when it did finally happen, when they fought, they actually had a smaller ring specifically for Leonard, his advantage. Or no, a bigger ring. I think it was a bigger ring. Right?
Yeah, bigger ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Leonard could run, basically, a little bit more. And jab a lot. So when
there was a sad statistic in one of those two articles I sent you guys, because we were saying, I think with one of your favorites, Rich, Kevin Ioli, I know you don't care for him, but he hit the nail on the head with this one when he said, in October we were so thrilled with Lomo and Lopez that there were 3 million viewers. Well, compare that to 93 million in Muhammad Ali's rematch with Leon Spinks. Think about that. It's astonishing. And I thought that Iole really covered a lot of good points in that article.
Yeah, and it's tough because we have a lot of splintering with the promotional outfits. Especially with these guys like doing the fights overseas, primarily in Britain. Some of the biggest heavyweights in Britain, Anthony Joshua, prime example. And they're trying to make moves to the United States at this horrible time to do any kind of travel. And they're trying to make this something that's not so separated. Where they could have these big super fights. But you got Top Rank now that's kind of in limbo. Bob Arum was trying to sell it before the pandemic. I don't know if he still is. But, who's going to want to pay that money for that kind of thing? And then Premier Boxing Champions, how many more years are these networks going to pay for that? If it's not exciting, if they don't start having the best fight the best. And you don't hear of a lot of these organizations adding a ton of fighters either. And trying to make a run for it. And that's the downside of the whole Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr. and the YouTube fighters phenomenon there that they're trying to start. What if they get something started that brings a bunch of people that have never boxed in their lives into fame?
Exactly.
And it's a tough man circuit that brings the best fights. It's got to be like, what's that movie? The Running Man, without them getting killed. But it's just reality. So if people start drawn to that, these professionals really are going to have to step up their game to get people to watch it. So they're going to be more attracted to the freak show than the actual professional stuff. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but there's all sides to it, and there's always that thing of who do we have in boxing that's outside of the sport a true example of like a humanitarian or somebody that inspires people. Like we don't have a Muhammad Ali out there. We don't have even Floyd Mayweather would do some things every now and then for the Las Vegas community, go out and feed the homeless and stuff, and try to help people out. But on a worldwide scale, we haven't had that in a while, a long time.
Just like Tyson in his prime, he transcended the sport.
Yeah,
he transcended the sport, and we don't have that. We desperately need that now. I mean, Tyson Fury. If Tyson Fury were American, it would help. But, facts are facts.
And Tyson Fury could be that dude if he was going to continue boxing for a while, but I think he's 2 fights left and he's done. I think he's even said that, like 2 or 3 fights, and that's it. He's going to retire for good. But he definitely wants to try to unify the belts again. But anyway, speaking of that, Anthony Joshua versus Kubrat Pulev is this weekend. I don't think anybody's favoring Pulev in this one.
Yeah, I don't think
He's not a big puncher, and that's the problem. He's going to have to try to out-technique him, and I don't see that happening.
All right, let me bring up their records here. Well, looks like we got the mismatch of the week.
Joshua has that one big loss that he redeemed, but, you know, he's always going to have that, you know, Achilles heel. Because, like I said,
Oh yeah,
I mean,
I just don't see. I don't see it happening this time.
No, I don't see it happening this time either. I mean, Pulev's got the punch, you know. I mean, he could make it happen. I just don't see him making it happen.
Well, they both got the one loss. Joshua 23-1, Pulev 28-1, and it's definitely a pretty interesting card. It's all from again Wembley Stadium in London, United Kingdom. We got Lawrence Okolie at cruiserweight in the co-main event. This is somebody's always got to go fight, I guess. He's 14-0, fighting 19-0 Nikodem Jazuski, who's also got one draw. That's for the vacant WBO International Cruiserweight title. And then you got another solid heavyweight fight. Tyson Fury's brother, more well known for his stint on Big Brother recently, in the UK version of it. But anyway, he's 24-3, going up against Marius Wach, who is 36-6 at heavyweight. So that's a great little card. Speaking of which, you know, when putting it together over in the UK, this is like a whole different promotional outfit than what we're dealing with over here with all our fights that we're getting to watch. So we're not seeing these two cross over with each other because they're fighting their own fighters. You know, they're fighting in different circles. But we'll see. We'll see if they smooth that out because they have to with all the shit going on. Or not. But anyway, Anthony should cruise to victory in this one, I would think. He only lost being to Andy Ruiz Jr. there in what was kind of an underestimation, I believe, on his part. But he got the job done in the rematch. And really, I think Tyson Fury is the only guy that's going to be able to really take it to Joshua again and make him make those kind of mistakes again. I don't think Pulev's really going to do much. Looking at his record here, toughest recent opponent, I guess. I don't know. Probably the brother there, Huey Fury, when he was 21-1 back in 2018. We fought Samuel Peter back in 2016. Derek Chisora beat him, split decision. And his own one loss is, of course, to Vladimir, 62-3 Vladimir, over in Germany. Fought our former guest there, Joey Abel, back in 2013. He's got some unique names. Alexander Dimitrenko knocked him out back in... no, he knocked him out back in 2012. Pretty good record on him at the time. 32-1. A lot of fights in Germany. Michael Sprott. But we'll see. I guess you can always have a puncher's chance. Anyway. Alright. You guys still with me over there?
Little yes, sir, but
All right. It's deathly silent for a moment. All right. So, I know I had their mismatch of the week pretty high up on the box right here. Oh, here it is. This match of the week here comes from Argentina. Moro Maximiliano Godoy at welterweight, coming in at 32-6 with one draw, fighting Carlos Andres Chaparro, who is 7-37 with one draw.
ouch.
Yikes. The other, there's all Godoys actually. Now that I look at it, almost all Godoys on this card. So it must be like a family event where everybody registered to be professional boxers here. I don't know. Gino Natalio Godoy, 21-2 at super welterweight, fighting Gustavo Alberto Sanchez. He's got a great opponent record, 13-23-1. And then you got Emmanuel Godoy at super welterweight, making his second pro fight here. He's 1-0, fighting Emmanuel Jeremias Godoy, who's 4-16. So, yeah, Godoy versus Godoy. That's a crazy card in Argentina. I guess they don't have a lot of opponents to choose from. Fighters, period. That's a wild one. Got the France welterweight title on the line Saturday. Mohamed Khani, who is 17-2, fighting Sarak Hakobayan. Great French names here. 24-1, 20 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw for Hakobayan. And speaking of Germany, we got German fights. Cruiserweights, Roman Fress, 11-0, fighting Erdogan Kadrija, 16-2. That's for the German BDB, whatever that is, cruiserweight title. And we got light heavyweights, Tom Dzemski, who is 15-0, fighting Jihad Nassif, who is 12-1-1. That's for the International Boxing Federation Youth Light Heavyweight title. What else we got going on? Here's an interesting one. It's the only fight on the card here in Mexico City. Guadalupe Martinez Guzman. He's 20-9. None of those losses in his last 6. Fighting Lourdes Juarez, who is 30-2 for the WBC World Female Super Flyweight title. I should say. She. Guadalupe. I didn't think that was a female name. Lourdes versus Guadalupe. A big female fight. I just put out a blog, actually, a post on our blog about that, kind of that sentiment that was issued by Claressa Shields with sexism in boxing. Now it's been put out in kind of like a position paper where all the females that have been mistreated and don't see fair treatment as far as pay and all that, and promotional consideration, and a whole host of issues with sexism in boxing. And that's basically what Claressa Shields is saying, that it's great that a female boxer like me has an opportunity to go over into mixed martial arts, but she shouldn't feel like she has to get by, was her main point. And then I guess the other thing that was interesting to me was there was a whole part in there about how Heather Hardy, in all her boxing promotions, no matter what kind of fight she was having, whether it was a title fight or just a regular fight, she was never like front and center or anywhere close to the main fighters on the promotional stage. She was always on the edge. No matter how far she progressed in her career, because she was a woman, she said she was always on the edge of the platform, and she could never advance to the center of the stage, and we don't see a lot of those female fights headlining events anymore. A lot of it happens overseas when that does, in countries like Sweden and Finland. It's kind of crazy. They have different cultures, I guess, and they just happen to have a lot of great female fighters in some of those countries. It's not that we don't have the great fighters, but not a lot of them are going into boxing because it seems like there's more money in MMA for fighters. Female fighters. Anyway, here's an interesting one from Connecticut, down south here for me. There's a couple, Chris Colbert versus Jamie Arboleda. That's super featherweight for the interim WBA World Super Featherweight title. Colbert 14-0. Arboleda is 16-1. I believe this is on Showtime too. This is our Premier Boxing Champions Showtime thing. Co-main event, Richardson Hitchens. He's 11-0, fighting Alguinis Mendez, who's 25-5-3. And we got Matvey Korobov, 28-3-1, against Ronald Ellis, who's 17-1-2 at middleweight. Pretty good card there. And let's see, Shakur Stevenson versus Toka Khan Clary, former guest of ours. This is the ESPN card this weekend, in the bubble. Toka is 28-2. We interviewed him like 6-7 years ago now, I want to say, at least. Probably more than that. Like when he was first starting. Shakur Stevenson is 14-0 at super featherweight, so be a tough test for Toka Khan Clary there. Yeah, we got Felix Verdejo in the main event. He's 27-1, fighting Masayoshi Nakatani, who is 18-1. They got Jesse Rodriguez at light flyweight on the card. He's 12-0, fighting Saul Juarez, who is 25-12-2. And Edgar Berlanga also it's on the card, super middleweight, fighting Ulysses Sierra. Berlanga is 15-0. Sierra is 15-1-2. And this guy's been a pretty big story. Clay Collard also on this card. I don't know if they're going to show his fight.
Master Clay Collard?
Yes.
That's my boy.
He's talking about crossovers. Jeez, he's crossed over to MMA quite a bit. And back to boxing now. He is 9-2-3, fighting Quincy Lavalle, who is 9-0-1. So, a great little match on paper. We'll see how it translates into the actual fight. And here's our Elvis fight of the week here on this card. Elvis Rodriguez, 10-0-1, fighting Lawrence James Friars, who is 11-3. I might have to do the find thing to get the Jesus fight of the week. Well, there he is at the bottom of the page. Oh, I got to definitely have to change our mismatch of the week now. It's going to be a combo platter. Jesus and mismatch of the week. Jesus fight of the week and mismatch of the week here. Coming to you from Bolivar, Venezuela. We've got middleweight Kiber Gonzalez, 15-0, fighting Jesus Castillo, who is only 1-2.
Well, there we go. More than me.
I get strung up on the cross on this one. Middleweight Kiber Gonzalez, 15-0. I don't know how many knockouts he has, but Jesus might be his next one. 1-2. We'll see. We'll have to check back in on that one next week. Alright. Alright. So, pretty much does it for... Oh no, we got an upcoming event, right? Bellator actually is going on right now, I believe. Yeah, Bellator 254. And then, do we have a UFC fight this week coming up, Tom?
Yes. There's a flyweight title fight, I think, or some big flyweight fight. And Tony Ferguson's coming back. And he's fighting Charles Oliveira. And Oliveira has had weight making issues in the past. And Tony said, in something long overdue, no wait, no fight.
I did see
more
that.
Fighters say that. And our middleweight champ, Izzy, is on board with that, too. He said start taking 90% of the purse. Now, the problem is the UFC doesn't make that decision. It's the State Athletic Commission. But
Right.
it's going to take this to stop this trend. So it'll be interesting. And I'll be interested to see how Tony bounces back from his last disaster. So it should be good. I think he will, but we'll see.
All right, let's get that up. That's Davison Figueiredo versus Brandon Moreno. I call him McLovin because he looks like the guy from that movie. And they actually did a meme on that this week. I saw on one of the MMA groups with the McLovin license and the kid next to it, and then on the bottom it's Moreno. Now he's like, look how far he's come. Anyway, Moreno is 18-5-1. Just fought a few weeks ago, fighting Figueiredo, who is 20 wins, 1 loss. And he's pretty good all around. I just don't know as far as striking if he's going to be able to hang with Figueiredo. It's going to be interesting to see. To paraphrase Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But yeah, Figueiredo, just the 1 loss to Jussier Formiga. It was a unanimous decision back in 2019, March. Way back before the pandemic. He's got...
Right when the pandemic was starting.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a win streak going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Going on 6 here, hopefully, for him. Last one was Alex Perez. Also 2 times with Joseph Benavidez. Both ended before the 3rd round there. He had a guillotine submission choke on Tim Elliott back in October 2019. And before that, a unanimous decision against Alexander Pantoja. And TKO'd Joseph Benavidez the first time. 1 minute 54 seconds into the second. And I got it done quicker the next time with a rear naked choke. But Moreno's pretty good with the jiu-jitsu too, so this one could go either way. Could definitely go either way, but you know, Brandon's fresh off a big win. He's gonna be going in there shooting for gold. So we'll see. Tony Ferguson versus Charles Oliveira. Tony Ferguson said basically he's not fighting if Charles does not make weight, which I don't know what kind of penalties he might face for that, because I don't know how their contracts are set up that bad. But usually they just do the purse thing, you know, depending on how many pounds overweight the dude is.
Yeah, what, 20%? I've never seen it. I think I've heard of 30%. I don't recall. It's usually 20%. And it's very unfair to the guy who gives it up.
But I guess he's not doing a Justin Gaethje for this situation. They're going to help him cut weight. He doesn't sound like he's being that cooperative. But we'll have to watch and see how that turns out. I guess Charles is probably cutting weight as we speak. Trying to get that to be not an issue. We'll stay tuned on that one. But Ferguson is 25-4. Oliveira is 29-8. I believe this is a tune-up fight for Ferguson in the eyes of the promotion. They want him to do well. They want to pump him up a little bit psychologically. And Oliveira just hasn't really shown the kind of stuff that put him on the map in the first place in his recent fights. He's kind of been kind of pigeonholed as like a big name to put up against a guy who needs a win, or who just came off a tough fight. So I think
he's not consistent. He just hasn't been consistent.
I think Oliveira goes down anyway, whether he makes weight or not. Mackenzie Dern, she's 9-1 going against Verna Jandiroba, 16-1. We got Ronaldo Souza, 26-8, fighting Kevin Holland, who's 20-5. Junior Dos Santos, still fighting. He's 21-8, fighting Cyril Gagne, who is 6-0. Cub Swanson, also big veteran here, 26-11, fighting Daniel Pineda, who's 27-13. These guys have had a lot of fights. Renato Carnero, 14-3-1, fighting Rafael Fiziev, who's 8-1. And this is a pretty interesting one. Billy Quarantillo, who is 15-2, fighting Gavin Tucker, who's 12-1. Tisha Torres against Sam Hughes. Torres is 11-5. Sam is 5-1. It's Tony's tiny tornado cousin. That's what Tisha's nickname is. Chase Hooper. That's Tony's only fighter that he follows. The tiny tornado. Never mind. Chase Hooper, 9-1-1, fighting Peter Barrett, who's 11-4. Yeah, that's it. That was the first fight of the night. So that's UFC 256. Hopefully I'm luckier on that one than I was on my last slate of fights I picked. Unfortunately, I didn't get to try to do another lineup because the power went out from the damn storm. So not only did I not get to do another lineup, but I didn't even get to see the fights. No power. But what a bunch of troopers, I gotta say. These guys from Eversource. My neighbors, actually to the right of me, complained so hard because there was only 4 of us without power, other than the guy across the street. And the guy across the street doesn't live there in the winter. He has like a little cabin on top of the mountain. And it's behind a gate that's locked. And the whole thing has got like this giant driveway going up to it. And the first part of it is paved and everything, but if you can't get a plow up there, I mean, you can't get a truck up there. And there's, right away after the storm, I see across the street, there's a giant branch hanging from the power lines. And I'm like, oh shit, that's, how the hell are they going to even get up there? And then I ended up falling asleep like, it was like a day and a half later. It was like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I fell asleep, and then 10 o'clock at night, bam, power comes on. They got lights out front and everything. And my friend Steve said he walked by at like 9, and he could hear chainsaws like way up the hill. So they went up there on foot to do all this. I don't know if they got like specialized pole saws or what, but these guys figured something out. They did it all on foot in deep snow, so crazy. I don't know. I got it back on 10 o'clock at night, so I was able to watch the end of the football game. Actually, football's on like every day now with all these cancellations.
You guys will get a kick out of this one. I run that one weekly football pool. I've been doing it for this is my 20th season, and so far my most challenging, because I do the schedule before the season starts. Send the whole season schedule to everybody, and the schedule has changed about 3 or 4 times already this year, and I'm sending, hey, morons, here's the new schedule. Get rid of the old one. I still got people sending the old shit in, and, whatever. So this week, it comes down, I'm in the running, and it's 5 of us are in the running, or 6 of us are in the running. 1 has Frisco, 5 have Buffalo. So the 5 with Buffalo, if they win, comes down to points. I have the highest score. So as long as it's 55 or more, I'm going to win because I had 59. Okay, great. I'm watching the game. Buffalo's running roughshod on them. I'm like, this is great. Okay, halftime is 17, 10, okay, or 17-7. I'm like, I need 30-some points, but that's doable. It's doable. So then the second half starts, and both teams are going up and down the field. I'm like, this is good. Buffalo's winning by at 17 points. It's 34-17. I need 4 more points. 7 minutes to go. Great. Frisco goes down and scores. I win. This is great. Oh, wait, the guy's knee was down before the ball crossed. Okay, well, you know what? It's good. It'll take another 30 or 45 seconds off because I don't want a whole lot of time because that's only 10 points, the half a quarter to go. Oh, shit, the asshole just gets intercepted on the next play. I'm like, son of a bitch. So now I'm looking and I'm like, nobody's scoring. Somebody score something, please. And then finally, Frisco gets the ball back with like a minute 44 to go. I'm like, all right, assholes, let's go. They start driving down, hurry up offense. It's 4th and 10. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Oh wait, they converted, thank God. They score with 43 seconds to go. 1-2-40. Not a lot of money, but hey, for all the work I put in, I deserve to win once in a while. And but I'm watching it, I'm like, I'm going to get screwed on whatever. Now, of course, because I have to send out the weekly reports of, who was in the running, which I said, I said your hero and your idol, blah, 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 the commissioners in the running. Then I said, when I finally won, I sent out this, status that I was the winner with the updated standings, and I was like, your hero, your idol, a CSN, Comcast Sports Network out of Philadelphia, commercial celebrity, and Oscar winner for Best Supporting Extra in Creed 2 due to my wonderful acting ability. I could hear the eyes rolling when they read that. Oh, Tom, you'll appreciate this. I'm going to send you a picture as soon as I get a chance. I did the photos for my Christmas card. And someone said 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I was giving out Christmas cards at the tree lot that had Vinny's picture on them. And someone said, that dog's getting older. I pray to God the dog never dies, because now we're going to get pictures with his ugly face on the card. And they were right. So this year, some pictures of me acting like an ass at the tree lot. And then Santa Claus wearing a mask that says, ho, ho, horrible, 2020, ho, ho, horrible. And his Santa sack filled with a big thing of toilet paper and cans of Lysol.
Yeah, I actually heard today that, I think it's Clorox with the wipes. There was like a big news story that they're having like a shortage because they have to get like certain fiber for those things. And
it's funny. It's funny you say that, because I was talking to my mom today, and she texted me from the store while I was working from home. She texted me to say they just restocked Clorox wipes at Costco, and I got a 5-pack.
Yeah, they're going to be like cracks pretty soon. They're going to be hoarding them.
When someone's excited about getting Clorox wipes at Costco, that they text you.
Yeah.
Imagine a year ago getting a text that I got Clorox wipes. That's great.
Big deal.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. My sister, when my dad died, was like, "What do you need? Anything you need, let me know." And I was like, "Well, we're cleaning up the house for here, so we use some like cleaning wipes or whatever." She sent me like 3 boxes from Amazon of the big wipe containers. So I had them for a while. I finally ran out, but it's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, we just got the notification today that Pennsylvania's shutting down again as of Saturday.
Nuts.
And we knew it was going to happen because, hey, cases have been rising, hospitalizations have been going up, high reported countrywide deaths yesterday, highest ever during the whole pandemic. But you got to remember, last year when this started happening in March and April, we were coming out of flu season. We are now going into flu season.
Yeah, nobody's dying of the flu.
What's
up with that?
Yeah. and I'm going to tell you another thing. I don't know how the numbers have changed in the last 3 months, but if you would have looked at the death totals from 2020 overall, total United States deaths in 2020, they were actually lower than they were in 2019 total.
Yeah.
It could be maybe people weren't traveling as much, so less car accidents, less drinking driving accidents, things of that nature, because people not going out to bars and stuff. But the total number of deaths has actually decreased over the year. And like I said, that could have changed in the last month or two.
Well, they got actually in New Hampshire, it's been pretty consistent. It's majority of people are over 60 that are dying from it. And right now, there's an outbreak at one of the veterans' homes that's like 15 minutes away from me. They already lost 28 people in this one home. So it's getting pretty serious, hitting home around here. But it seems still to me that, unless you have like some kind of disability, which there has been people that have been younger that had disabilities here too, that have lost their lives to it. But
I think a lot of it has to do with people you're right. You have people with, like, a lot of diabetic, a lot of people with, pre-existing medical conditions, which obviously, is a good concern on my family because, my dad has deal with the Crohn's and the Parkinson's. I have an aunt and an uncle that are very high risk. But at the same time, it's like, we're close to where we need to be with the vaccine. I think the one just got literally approved like a couple hours ago, but they only got enough to do like 3% of the country to start by the end of the year. And then of course, you can't, they want to throw blame at Donald Trump just because that's the media's fun thing to do. But like, well, he could have ordered more doses of the Pfizer vaccine in June and July, and he would have had it now. The thing is, the Pfizer vaccine at the time wasn't the leading one. Moderna was, and AstraZeneca was right behind it. Pfizer just jumped out to the lead, in August and September, because their trials are moving faster. But now imagine you order 100 million extra doses of the one, and it shows to be ineffective.
Right.
Or the other gets first. So now you got all this extra shit displaying there.
It's going to be a dark winter, says Joe. It'll be the darkest winter ever. I thought it was pretty dark the other night, but only because my power went out. But yeah, it's not good for sports, that's for sure. Hopefully, we still get to see fights. Connecticut's not having a problem, apparently. They've got the Bellator fights tonight at the Mohegan Sun. And 3 fights on the card are already decided here, or at least reported to Sherdog decided. We got Billy Goff beating Robson Gracie Jr. by TKO. Punched him out 1 minute and 46 seconds into the second. Cody Law beating Kenny Champion. Great name, but not a good result there for Mr. Champion. TKO from punches there. 4 minutes and 44 seconds into the third round. So 16 seconds away from the end of the fight. Grant Neal beating Maurice Jackson by rear naked choke. 3 minutes and 59 seconds into the second. And upcoming, we have Kemron Lachanov against Shamil Nakayev. Romero Cotton against Justin Sumter. Linton Vassell against Ronnie Marks. Magomed Magomedov against Mateus Matos. How about that for alliteration? That's crazy. I don't know how. They must have put these guys together just specifically for their names. Magomed Magomedov and Mateus Matos. I mean, who did that? That's crazy. Alima Leigh McFarlane in the main event against Juliana Velasquez. This is the female MMA version of the Somebody's Always Gotta Go fight. Velasquez is 10-0 and McFarlane is 11-0. So it should be a good one for Bellator. I'll have to tune in. It's upcoming. So we'll talk about that next week, I guess. And that's about it for me. A nice, neat hour.
Yeah.
And next week we are definitely going to have a guest. I'm going to do whatever it takes to either get Keisha or Trisha, former guest Trisha. And she actually posted something today. She's putting a lot of importance into the article that I read on air a few weeks ago where Mike Tyson mentioned he was afraid that he was going to get AIDS back in the Tommy Morrison days, and he made mention of the doctor that told him that Tommy wasn't going to ever fight again. And apparently she didn't know this had happened. So this has become a big part of her case. And I was the one that alerted us to the article. She might have never seen it otherwise. I mean, she probably would have, but so she has since, I believe, talked to Mike. So we might get some really good information out of this interview, and very, very, crucial updates, I'm sure, to her legal case. Even though there's COVID stuff going on, blocking all that in Vegas, as well as every other jurisdiction, I'm sure.
Well, like like I said, we got the thing in Pennsylvania today, and the governor of Pennsylvania, who's a jackass, tested positive. And I don't want, I'm not wishing harm on anybody, but he really annoyed people months ago when he was shutting all small businesses down. You can't have alcohol at a bar at 10 p.m. You have to order food when you get a beer. You can't just order drinks. You have to order food. Gyms are closed. This is closed. That's closed. He was really killing the small business, right? And then when they were having a lot of the protests and all that, he was seen walking arm in arm with the protesters. So it's like, yeah, you're wearing a mask, but you're not respecting social distance, and you're physically touching people. And he got caught. Really been giving him a lot of shit. And so it's like now, it's like, okay, his name's Tom Wolf. Tom, you've been social distancing, right? You've been touching, right? You've been wearing your mask, right? But you still got it. So it's like, how? The other question I have to ask, and maybe you guys do know the answer to this because I do not. They're saying like the number of cases and the number of positive results. Okay, just say, and I'll use myself as an example. Say I catch it, I have it, and I have a positive test. They swab me today, and I test positive. Then I go back, a couple of days later. I'm not showing symptoms. They swab me again, and I test positive. I still have it. Am I counted twice or am I counted once? Because that's 2 tests. Do you guys know? I mean, because I don't.
Probably 3 times, actually.
Probably.
Just for good measure, I would say. That's the thing. Well, we already have the crazy instances that have proven true where people have been designated with COVID as COVID deaths when they die in a car accident.
Right.
So, who knows? Who knows what kind of record keeping they're doing to determine these numbers? But it comes from one organization usually more than any other, and it's Johns Hopkins University.
Yeah.
So what money funds Johns Hopkins University? Probably a lot of medical organizations. They want to promote the treatments, the drugs. So, interesting. Actually, talk about some of the drugs now they're promoting on TV that have nothing to do with COVID, but one of them I'm seeing is, I think it's a Crohn's disease drug, but they're using the word remission like it's cancer. And coincidentally, they want you to go into remission for Crohn's disease, and they want you to use this drug when one of the side effects is cancer. Are you serious? You're using a word that's supposed to be curing people of, representing curing people of a serious disease, cancer, real serious disease. Not that Crohn's is not serious, but, you're using that similar terminology, and one of your side effects is cancer. It's like outrageous. How do they allow stuff like that?
Well, you know what? I worked in pharmaceutical market research, medical education and that type of business. I used to work at the one place during my summers when I was in college. So I was only 18 years old when I started there, and we would try to get these teleconferences and dinner meetings, and basically for a while it was promotional. Hey, come hear about this new drug for breast cancer, lung cancer,
ask your doctor.
Whatever. And we had one that we were doing, and it was for a nasal spray for migraine headaches. And, we're getting a lot of primary care doctors, internal medicine doctors, and all that doing these teleconferences. And one of our selling points was low addiction. And then in the middle of this big promotion that we're doing, a study comes out that the nasal spray was becoming addictive and was driving people to suicide.
Oh, no.
And all of us were like, we're screwed. Yeah. We have one guy who later became my one supervisor, and he was always always thinking ahead and thinking out of the box. He goes, this is the best news out there. I said, we're all like, what are you talking about, Frank? He goes, I'm going to use this as a recruiting tool. And he got out there and said, he goes, hey, I'm talking to Dr. John Smith here, Dr. Smith. We want to invite you to this conference where we're going to talk about this nasal spray drug for migraine headache. And you may have heard the recent, news that just came out that it's being, possibly addictive and whatever. Well, this is a chance to get on there with a national renowned speaker in that field and that expert in that field and discuss proper dosing for this drug and the proper candidates. Dude, he made a shit ton of money on bonuses because he was getting so many recruits. You know, I mean, we did medical education. Then we used to get grants from pharmaceutical companies saying, like, hey, our company, and let's use Pfizer right now for COVID. So all these, treatments coming out for COVID. Pfizer just came out with one. Moderna's coming out with one. AstraZeneca will be coming out with one. So just to say, in the middle of all of this, say Johnson & Johnson, they come out. And they come out with the new one. And maybe it's a year down the road. Johnson & Johnson comes out with the new one. So now they want to get word on their new drug. So what they would do is give my company money, and we would develop education. So it's not promotional. We're sitting there going, we're not just going to talk about Johnson & Johnson's drug. We're going to talk about all the drugs that are being used to, vaccinate COVID. But then we're going to include the new one, Johnson & Johnson. So you get these doctors in these big hospital conferences and say, okay, yeah, we're looking about this Pfizer vaccine, this Moderna vaccine, this AstraZeneca vaccine, and now the new Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And we're going to talk about the safety and, how effective each one is. So even though you're not promoting Johnson & Johnson, you're getting their message out there. So that's why I'm so used to reading pharma journals, because that's what I did for 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
Rich, your Patriots are losing.
I know, it's bad. It's bad. What happened to that 45-0 team?
Funny, most people in my pool picked Los Angeles last week. I was one of the ones that picked New England. That's why I won. Right.
I should have picked their defense. That's what screwed me on the Sunday games.
Well, you know what? I actually I missed the playoffs last week. The one guy that was in our league, and he and I have been going at each other's throats for years, and we met up in the final week, and I had to win for a shot at the playoffs, but then I needed a little bit of help. The one guy in the league is, you know what? You might want to bench Wentz this weekend and put in Derek Carr from Vegas.
Oh,
and
beautiful.
I looked at the numbers, and Carr was projected to have more points, so I did, and Carr put up a monster game, like 3 or 4 TDs.
Darren Waller, too. You had to have him.
Yeah, I didn't have him, but, I know another guy that did. So I got my win. So all I needed was our number 2 seed, who's only lost 2 or 3 games all season, to beat one of the mediocre teams in the league, and I'm in. He lost. The mediocre team won. And I missed the playoffs by just a matter of points on a tiebreaker. So there goes my shot at 1,000.
All right.
But it is what it is. At least I'm not getting this. And it'll be actually 3 years this weekend that he passed away. One guy in our league that was like 600 pounds, and, he had some medical issues. We lost him a couple years ago. But he was notorious for, bad drafting. He loved the Niners, so he would just draft all Niners players. Loved the Niners. And it was funny because he would draft Colin Kaepernick every year.
Yeah.
But he was also very conservative and very patriotic. As soon as Kaepernick knelt, he's like, fuck him, I'm not drafting him anymore. But he would draft a defense in the 4th round. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? He had 4 or 5 tight ends the one year. We're you could only play one and a flex. And he never had a clue what he was doing. Went 0-16 the 1 year or whatever it was, or 0-13, however many weeks we had. So we named an award after him, and it's a trophy toilet bowl. I didn't want that.
Yeah. Don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want the toilet bowl.
Wow. One thing actually I've noticed that probably pisses other people off more than me, who don't particularly like football at all, but this UFC deal with ESPN, even when these free fights are supposed to be on ESPN,
oh my God,
they're not interrupting these football games, these college football games.
Yep.
They're just sitting there. And it's
I guess after the Heidi debacle in 60-something or 70-something, I guess they'll never have that happen again.
And they'll switch The problem is, okay, they'll switch to a different channel. It's okay if you go from ESPN 1 to ESPN 2. That's fine with me. I get both of those. But what they're doing is they're switching it to ESPN News. You can go watch the fight. Well, I don't get ESPN News in my cable subscription. All right? And it's not a fight that's scheduled to be on ESPN Plus, so I shouldn't have to watch it there either, because I don't get ESPN Plus. But, if the fight's supposed to be on ESPN, it should be on ESPN. I don't know why we're watching the football game. Why don't you switch the football game over to ESPN News? So, I'm only saying that because Bellator is supposed to be on CBS Sports Network, and 41 seconds left in the fourth. We've already had 4 fights happen.
Yeah.
Bellator. There's another football game going on. And they're like obscure colleges usually, too, at these times. Florida Atlantic against Southern Mississippi. Friggin' 2-7 versus 5-2 here. I've never even heard of these two. We gotta watch the friggin' game go down to the last second to see the Bellator fights. Crazy. Yeah, I like football as the next guy, but not that much. I like my fights better. Alright, on that note, we'll wrap her up until next week when we have another guest. One way or another. Figure it out. Trisha Morrison.
All right, guys. Enjoy the fights.
Have a good weekend, guys. Stay safe.
Adios.
Later.